Welcome to Life on Purpose, where we talk all things health, wellness, and living your life on your terms. I'm your host, Brandy Eilert. All right, welcome back to the Life on Purpose podcast, where today my guest is Corbie Mitleid. And Corbie is a psychic channel and medium, and also an intuitive counselor. And the reason that I brought her on today is because, you know, those of you who listen to my podcast and those of you who are looking for purpose and meaning and passion in your life, Corbie is an avenue that people will choose to take sometimes. And it's one that I don't understand very well, which is why I love having guests on like this, because I would like to kind of understand this avenue. And I think people are really interested in what you do and how it can work for them. So welcome to the podcast, Corbie. I am so glad you're here.
It's great to be here. Thanks for asking.
Thank you. So I wanted to jump in. So I was going to do your full bio, but I think that it's going to be better coming from you. How does your story start? How does one find this gift, and how do you use it then to help people?
Okay. This is what I call the 30-second elevator speech. I'll go through it really quickly. When I was 9, I had a book called The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes. And instead of thinking, ooh, that's scary, or ha, 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 I thought, and your point is, I knew there was magic in the world. I wanted to go find it. Fast forward to 1973, when I was a senior in high school. And yes, that tells you how old I am. I was working part-time at Spencer Gifts. They had the James Bond 007 tarot deck, and I bought it. We were all hippies then. 5 years later, everybody had moved on to roller skates and disco balls. I was still working with the cards. I loved the stories that they would tell. I loved the way that they would help people look at the background of what they needed. Mm-hmm. So I read for 20 years, making sure that my ego was on the shelf and I was clear with the information. All of a sudden in 1994, I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That's when I figured that somebody had handed me a draft notice and said, you're working for the universe. Now, I did it part-time, and I had lots of other careers: actress, author, inspirational speaker, legal assistant, writer of a graphic novel series called Elf Quest, video producer, executive recruiter. But the love was always the psychic work and being able to help people unearth answers they didn't think they could find themselves. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, on 9/11, as my husband and I watched the towers burn, I looked at him and said, I need to do this work full time. People need to know there are other answers out there. He said, I believe in you, go do it. So for one more year, I still worked 70 hours a week as an executive recruiter, did the psychic work evenings and weekends till I knew I could make a living at it, then closed the door on corporate. I've never looked back. I now read 6 days a week, 14 hours a day, 1,000 people a year, and I get to get up every morning. I don't have to get up every morning. That's your passion.
So you're basically a living, walking example of your own work, because you were able
to write
what
you know, you teach what you know, of course.
Sure. You were able to find and live your own passion, which is what people come to you for. Mm-hmm. Correct. So let me understand. So you said something early on that it wasn't until like decades later, after you had started this work, mm-hmm. that it became something more. Is that unusual for people that do what you do? The psychic mediumship, and
there are a lot of people who don't do it full time.
Yeah.
It's on the side. Mm-hmm. But it became a juggernaut for me. The passion was there.
Yeah.
The knowledge, you know, I talk about your sentence of passion. That's how you find what you're meant to do. And your sentence of passion is not who you are or what you do or even how you do it. It's your vapor trail. Mm-hmm. So when you go skidding into heaven on bald tires and fumes in the tank and God hands you a beer and says, so, you get to say, I did this. Isn't it cool?
Yeah.
And over the years, I knew that my sentence of passion was cross the bridge from fear to fearlessness and fly. I had had such a dysfunctional life. Divorces, cancer, poverty, alcoholic mother, etc. But I kept finding my way to what I really loved. And to do that, I had to cross that bridge, fear to fearlessness.
Yeah.
So when I can teach people how to cross that bridge when they thought they couldn't make it, whack them on their shoulder, say, here are your wings. You don't need a flight plan. Now get, I'm living my bliss. And I always did it a little bit in the jobs I had, but doing this work full time, that's my purpose.
Now, how do you personally cross that bridge, given that you have a career, a passion that most people don't understand, or that a lot of people don't understand, and that question? And I think so many of us, that is a fear of, okay, well, I'm a little bit odd. My passion is something that people don't really understand, or the choices that I'm making don't really fit into the norm. I really just want to be accepted. And I would rather just live in that acceptance than do something that I really love. How did you cross that?
Well, I was always the odd man out and the rebel in my family. Dad was a cardiologist, mom was an RN, my brother is pediatric pulmonology. I was a theater major. I was a writer.
You were the black sheep.
Yeah, more than you know. I could have stood on the dining room table, tap dancing and reciting Shakespeare. Nothing.
Yeah.
So I always felt never accepted. And I always had to work at finding my place.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I kind of got a graduate level course on this. But the key with me is also, I taught myself how to live the examined life. Now, what's that? Things happen to you, and you may not like them, but they're there. With me, it was breast cancer 3 times. And the 3rd time was a second primary, which brought the danger quotient back to 0. But they said, okay, we're taking the rack, we're taking the ovaries, and we're taking you from this Dolly Parton figure, literally, put a brunette wig on Dolly, and that's what I looked like, to a fat fired plug with permanent side effects in 3 weeks, suck it up. Now, I knew I had to find 3 reasons to be okay with it. Your examined life is, this is happening, find reasons to learn from it. For me personally, find reasons to teach with it and go on. So I said, I don't care how stupid they sound, I will find 3 reasons to be okay with it. Number 1, you don't have them, you can't get cancer there. Number 2, the top half is not going to get slammed in the refrigerator door at the doctor's every year, and every woman listening knows exactly what I'm talking about. Number 3, implants. I'll be perky till I'm 93. This is cool. I walked out of Mass General in 3 days, shopped for a bathing suit. But that was hard-earned learning. When I did that, that was 2004. I knew that my passion was made out of what I had gone through. When you have an alcoholic mother who throws things at you, you're afraid. When you are taught from teenagehood that because of what you look like, you don't have permission to say no to anybody for anything, you're always afraid. Here I had just found a good marriage and I'd been in it for 1.5 years. And now they're going to destroy the body that this guy loved and married. Fear.
Yeah.
So getting out of fear was my entire life. Now, luckily, I married the right guy this time. His comment was, am I going to miss them? Oh yeah, they were gorgeous, but I married you, not them.
Yeah.
Next month, we're 19 years married. So it can work.
Sure.
But when, there are a lot of questions as an intuitive counselor, I'm going to answer for you.
Yeah.
The first thing I'm going to tell you is, please don't be afraid. You can do what I do. You really can. The example I use is, we've all got 10 fingers. Everybody can play chopsticks. Some of us love the piano, and so we learn to read music and we practice our scales and we get pretty good. 1 in 10 million is Elton John. Now, I'm not saying I'm Elton John of WikiWoo, but I have spent years practicing, so then I'm pretty good. Okay. So that's one reason not to be scared of us. But the other thing is, don't give us too much power. Don't walk into my office and say, I need to know what my soul plan is. I need to know what I'm here to do, and wait like a kid waiting for, a candy bar.
Right.
I haven't lived your life, faced your challenges, found your loves. You've done that. And the only way you're going to find that sentence of passion and purpose is to look at what your life has been about and follow the threads. Now, yes, I have an hour and a half consult on creating your sentence of passion. I've got 3 of them up this week, but I'll be blunt, I'm expensive. I've done this for 50 years. I've got certifications. And so, an hour and a half of intense time with me. Yeah, but you don't have to pay that.
Yeah.
I'm one of those weird psychics. The less I can get to the pay, the happier I am.
Right.
So I wrote a book called Clean Out Your Life Closet. And one of the chapters in there is getting clear on your purpose. And there are 6 questions you can ask yourself, which will get you started. And the first one is, what has your life been about? If you've always had a roller coaster relationship with money, how has that shaped your ideas of prosperity? Do you feel you're doomed to a marginal existence? Does it make you want to make money no matter what? Does it make you want to simplify your life? If you're always the one who stands up for the underdog, whether or not you win, does that mean that you want to make that your life's purpose? If you consistently get overlooked for awards and promotions and things like that, does that make you bitter or make you better at being self-actualized? Okay, so that's number 1. Where does your happiness live? For that, look at your happiest moments. Some people, it's all about family. Some people, like me, it's all about being on stage and being able to inspire all those people in the seats. Where do you find comfort? Now that's not, my yoga pants. That is, what do you always gravitate to? And with me, it's word crafting. I mean, I've often said, words are my drug of choice.
Yeah.
My stepmother, I loved her. She could make anything grow. She was a landscape designer, things like that. Next question, what crises changed your life? You heard about the cancer with mine. Did you get hit by a tornado? Did your parents die young and you had to raise your siblings? Where is that? How do you learn or work best? Are you right-brained or left-brained? Things like that. What do you want to be remembered for is the last thing.
That's a really deep question.
It's huge. Me, I want to be remembered as the person that sparked your own ideas and your own self-confidence and your own passion, but boy, did I make you laugh while we were looking at it.
Right.
Even with those 6 questions, you can then look at your life and see where the recurring themes are.
That's fascinating. So at what point do people seek you out? Who seeks you out, and where are they struggling typically? Or do you have, is it just kind of across the board?
Well, it's a bell curve.
Yeah.
But the ones who mostly come across are women, 40s, 50s, 60s, because they don't know what they want. And here's why they don't know what they want. We women are taught early. I use the example, you're 4. There's a plate of cookies.
Yeah.
Now you're a smart 4-year-old. You know there's more in the big one than the little one. So you take the big one and your mother goes, bad, selfish. That's a big cookie. You shouldn't have taken that. She takes it and she gives it to your little brother who eats it at you. But then she compounds it by saying, besides, girls who eat cookies get fat and nobody likes fat girls. Do you really want to be fat? Do you really want that cookie? To the point where within a year or 2 of that kind of behavior, which we all had, we are subliminally taught, we women, if we want anything, we're wrong, we're bad, we'll be punished, and we have to watch somebody else get what we want. So in self-defense, we teach ourselves not to want anything. And when you say, I have no idea what I want, you have no idea what your passion is, you don't know your passion, you'll never know your purpose, except what other people do. Well, you're my mother, you're supposed to drive me to soccer practice. Or you're my wife, you're supposed to always look good on my arm. Well, you're my secretary, you're supposed to take care of all the stuff I don't want to take care of. No, we have a right to be able to walk into heaven saying, wait until you see what I got to do.
Right. So typically it's people who have never really asked themselves or allowed themselves to focus on what their needs are, their wants are, their passions are, and then come to kind of this existential crisis in their midlife
Yes.
saying, what the heck have I done this whole time? And now I'm feeling like, time is running out and I need to figure this out. This is something that's weighing on me so incredibly deeply that I need some guidance. And then that's where you come in. What are some appropriate questions for an intuitive counselor?
All right. Some of the questions you can ask me are things like, what's the energy between me and this guy? Now, I am not someone who's going to say, oh, he loves you, but he doesn't know it yet, and blah, blah, blah. No, that's what I call the Madame Hoo-ha stuff. I will show you what the energies are, how you can work with them. Might show you what the karma is in your pre-birth planning underneath, why you guys are getting together at this point. Remember, I used to be an executive recruiter. So if you come to me and say, I need to know about my career, I'm going to say, okay, 3 ways you can look at it. Stay where you are, change jobs, or open your own place. Now let's take, you wanted to open up a vintage clothing store. There are a lot of intuitives who would throw down 3 cards and say, wait until January and fire the second redhead. What does that give you? So I go deep dish. You, the energy around the business, the brick and mortar location, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. That gives you so much information, it empowers you.
Yeah.
My job is to empower you and give you clarity, not to solve your life. I often say, we may hand you the toolbox, but we're not the repairman. Yes, I can talk to your dead Aunt Mabel, but remember, we're not dial-a-dead. She's on a field trip up there. She will not be by the phone.
Yeah.
And I'm a past life specialist because nobody is smart enough to get out of here with one life. And for everybody that says, oh, but the Bible says we only live one life, I say, you're right too. The soul, so much bigger than who we are, comes down and learns in life after life after life. Corbie, Brandy, we get one shot.
Yeah.
This particular recipe will never be down here again. The way I explain it, let's take the actor Matt Smith. A lot of us know him as the 11th Doctor in Doctor Who, goofy and funny and smart and all of that. And then when he hung up the Doctor Who suit, Matt Smith became Prince Philip in the first 2 seasons of The Crown. So think of the Doctor and Prince Philip as 2 incarnations. Matt Smith is the soul that enlivened both of them.
That's really fascinating. So how can somebody understanding, like this tool of understanding your past life, help them in this one?
2 examples. First of all, spirit tends to see what you've got in the pantry and use it. For instance, a lot of people use a pendulum, which is a little crystal that hangs on a string. I have a slight benign tremor in my right hand. I couldn't trust it, so I don't use it. But I was a history and theater major at Brown University. I know characters. I know how history runs. I'm a writer. I understand how to tell a story. So 2 of us, 2 intuitives that can see past lives. Somebody without my background might tell you, well, I see you're female here and it's a long skirt and a big hat in front of a building I don't recognize. So it's somewhere old fashioned. I would go, okay, female, hobble skirt, picture hat, that kind of ostrich feather. You're standing in front of the Brandenburg Gate. I think this is Berlin in 1911. Which one's going to give you more information? How does that work?
Right.
A woman came to me and said, I'm really worried about my son. He's in his 20s and he just can't make any decisions without me. It's like he thinks he's going to die if I'm not around. And I said, okay, Utah Beach, you were his commanding officer, badly mangled leg. You were the one who dragged him off the beach, and behind a dune, you took some shrapnel too, but you both got out of there in one piece. She looks at me and she says very quietly, do you see my rank? I said, yes, you were a sergeant. And she goes, he has called me Sarge since age 3, and we have no idea where that came from.
Interesting.
Second one, woman was always interested in the Underground Railroad, and she did not come from anywhere where it happened. Okay, I'm seeing a room whitewashed, low ceiling. The gentlemen who are standing up, they kind of have to bend over. You're kneeling by the bed. The outfit is about 1862 or 3. It's gray, it's got black soutache on it, and you're kneeling by a very rickety iron bed. with a very old, very wrinkled Black woman in it. All of you were feeling very mournful because she almost got to Boston, which was the end of the railroad for her, but she's dying and she won't make it. And I look at the woman, she has tears coming out of her eyes. She says, I've had a recurring dream for 20 years and I had no idea what it was.
Wow.
And it's not me. I am telling you, it is not me. I'm not one of those psychics who thinks my aura don't stink.
Right.
I am a tool for God. That's it. I'm the tube that it comes through. And it's your guides and God that is saying they need to know this at this time.
And is that, how does that help? And how does having that information help here and now? Does it just help you understand the struggles that your soul has gone through over these past lives? How can we take that information and utilize it today?
We understand where we botched it before. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Another example, a woman was born into a Jewish family, never made sense to her. She always felt like she was an alien. Go back 2 lives to World War I. She was a World War I pilot. She was Catholic. She had been taught to be anti-Semitic. You know, it wasn't as bad as World War II, but still, she was a very good teacher and fiance and pilot and squadron leader, but she wouldn't even touch a Jew. So her soul decided to rebalance that energy by bringing her into a Jewish family this time. Once she realized where that came from, all of the feelings of strangeness, all of the feelings of this is alien dropped away. She was able to reforge relationships with her cousins. She was able to set foot in a synagogue without being afraid.
Wow,
she
that's
understood.
Fascinating. So, okay, this leads me to kind of a deeper question then, and maybe a more complicated question is, how then do you say, okay, I completely believe everything that you just told me about past lives and the fact that, you know, we keep coming back. How does that, and going back to what you said before, how does that fit into your religious beliefs? If you are a deeply religious person, how can you take these things where, you know, you just said that you can explain this dream that a woman has been having for her whole life and be like, oh my gosh, yes, you just nailed it on the head. But you're also a deeply religious person who, like you said, may believe that we only have one life. How does that complicate things for people being like, oh my God, I don't know how to feel about this? Or do you find that people that come to you are open to these ideas anyway?
They're very open. Yeah. They're very open. But for the people who are afraid I'm doing the devil's work, I just say, go read Acts chapter 2.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I assume that people who think that you do the devil's work aren't really calling you. I wouldn't think.
They're not. But I mean, I have done holistic expos where they've been outside with signs and they spit on us and they throw things at us. And, you know, this is why America is going to hell. It's, no, it isn't. But, you know, there are always going to be skeptics, which are fine.
Sure.
There are always going to be people who don't believe.
Yeah.
What I tell people is, I don't care if you are Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Muslim, pagan, or believe in Ralph the Wonder Dog. I really don't.
Yeah.
All you need to know is there's someone up there who loves you, wants the best for you, and is willing to work with you. Because look, I did the cancer dance 3 times and came out clear on the other end. I do not think I did that all by my little onesies. I had help.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, let's dive back into purpose. And that is a question that you say people will come to you and I want to know my purpose. And that is something that you say, I cannot answer for you, or I will not answer for you. What is the process like then, working with somebody who's just purposeless, passionless, trying to find how to move forward in their lives? What is this process like for you and your client? So say I come to you and I feel like there's something that's tugging at me constantly. I can't figure it out. I can't figure out how to move forward. I feel very stuck. What's my purpose, Corbie?
First thing I tell you to do is breathe. You've got one, and we can find it. So then we go through some of the things. What do you love? Where does your happiness lie? Who do you admire? in the world? What ticks you off?
Yeah.
Do you run toward change, or are you afraid of it? Are you an animal person, a people person, a nature person, or a techno person?
Yeah.
How do you show love to others? How do you show love to yourself? And, you know, I have literally, it is 2 pages of questions that doing a full sentence of passion consultation with me, you're going to answer.
Yeah.
And I send them to you when you first book, because it's going to be at least 2 weeks. I want you to take the time.
Yeah.
And people see the questions. The first thing they think is this will be easy. The second thing they think is these are just all over the map. They don't follow. And the third thing that I hear when they come to me is, oh my God, that took me a couple of days. And I said, I know. It's because we don't ask ourselves what we need, what we love.
So we're not very self-reflective.
No, we're told that's selfish. You should also always be thinking about the other person.
Yeah.
You don't want to get to age 70 and look back and realize your entire life was about giving other people what they think will make them happy.
Mm-hmm.
And here you are, and you have no idea about yourself. You've never been happy. You've never felt fulfilled. That's a horrible way to go upstairs, because God's going to look at you and you're going to go, I kind of botched it.
And is that a situation where you're going right back?
Believe it or not necessarily, because remember, you ain't going anywhere. You're up there, you go through your life review, and the personality gets hung up in the closet. Now, what does that mean? Let's take my father. My father was a brilliant doctor. His patients adored him. Mm-hmm. And I do get connection with him. He was my best friend. Yeah. What do I feel from him 20 years after he's dead? His compassion, his terrible sense of humor, his love for me, his belief in the world. What do I not get? His anxiety, his depression, his hypochondria. I mean, having a doctor who was a hypochondriac was a very interesting conundrum.
I was just thinking that must create some massive anxiety.
It did, and he taught me. I admit I'm one too. But the thing is, those are negative energies.
Yeah,
ways of looking at the world is how our soul has us look at things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talk about karma. Karma is not carrot and stick, bad and good. Karma is 5 things: unbalanced energy, healing, service, contrast, and healing of beliefs. I'm going to give you a fast example of that. A soul that knew its purpose. Remember Ryan White? He was the kid in the late 80s, early 90s who got HIV/AIDS from a blood transfusion, but we knew so little about it then, that he was bullied, he was a pariah in his community, and his family felt very abandoned. But somehow, Elton John got to know who he was. And Elton became very close with the family, very supportive. When Ryan died at age 18, Elton played at his funeral. Now, when Elton first met Ryan, he was drinking, he was drugging, he was driving himself into the ground, was probably going to die fast and very ugly. He was so inspired by Ryan's courage that he then went into rehab, stopped drinking, stopped doing drugs, and it's been over 30 years since he got sober. And he started the Elton John AIDS Foundation, which since then has raised $500 million to work on HIV and AIDS research and support worldwide. Ryan White did not get AIDS because it was bad karma and he had been evil before.
Yeah.
My understanding is that his soul said, I'll go for a short, difficult life because it can make this much change in the world. So that was a courageous soul whose karma was service. Right. When you understand karma that way, it makes a big difference. Why did I have to do the cancer dance 3 times? Perhaps because I had to teach with it, as well as some other personal things that I had to learn from it. That's also how you can have the examined life. You're not a victim.
Sure. And it's like you said, like we were talking about before, it's kind of this self-reflective exercise that you go through to help you understand the tragedies of the world in a way.
As much as our little pea brains can.
Sure,
You
sure.
wouldn't bring an ant into a calculus class. We're the ants, and God's purpose is the calculus class.
Right. And there are some things that are just so tragic and beyond kind of comprehension that I think it would be very difficult to try to rationalize them. Yet the process itself of kind of exploring these other ideas and purpose and meaning in people's lives may make it just a little less traumatic.
Yes.
Is that correct? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Absolutely. Can I tell you why 6 million Jews died in World War II? No, I cannot.
Yeah.
It's too big a question. But what I do know is God is infinitely compassionate. And even if we can't see the reasons behind it, there is some reason for the growth of the soul, the growth of mankind as a whole. Even the difficult time that we're going through in the United States right now, we don't know what's on the other side. I think it may take 20 years to, if you will, re-engineer things. Now I read tarot, and there's one card called the Tower that shows a lightning struck burning tower and people falling off it. People always look at that and think it's doom, gloom, and destruction. I think, I want you to think of it as the imploding sports stadium card. Right, you live near Pittsburgh. I'm going to use the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pirates want to build a new stadium. They have to blow up the old one first and clear the ground.
Yeah.
There is a lot about America and the world that needs massive healing. And you can't put a bandage on a broken leg. If it's set wrong, you have to re-break the leg and put it back together right. And that could be what we're going through now. And as at 66, I may not get to see it on the other side.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
But you're part of the process now.
Yes.
So let me ask you a personal question then. Has this been, have you actually drawn cards for this situation because you yourself are curious about what it is we're going through collectively?
Yes and no. I've drawn for myself.
Yeah.
But one of the big things about being an intuitive counselor, your ego has to be on the shelf. It has to be outside on a park bench reading a magazine.
Yeah.
Looking at how I am going to be massively affected by whatever is happening in the world. I am human. My ego is too involved. I have other friends who are intuitives with different tools. We're all getting a feel for things, but our job is not to frighten people. Our job is not to say, it's all going to go to hell in a handbasket and you're going to be scrounging for food in a nuclear bombed city. And no, that isn't really what I see, but I'm saying that's what
Thank you, God, for saying that.
Yes. But what I am saying is what felt normal to us growing up in the 60s, 70s, that is gone.
Yeah.
That is gone. The world is shifting. Climate change is going to make some things impossible. And so we must make these changes. Okay. Simple. I live in the Northeast, and man, maple sugar season is fabulous.
Yeah.
But in order to get the maple trees to do their thing, you need to have days in the 40s and nights in the 20s. That doesn't happen nearly as often as it used to. And so are we going to lose maple syrup entirely? We don't know.
Right.
So it's things like that. We can do what we can to mitigate climate change at this point, but it's gone too far for us to ever get back to the way it was in the 60s and the 70s. So be ready for change. That's, again, part of what I show people is don't be afraid of change. It's going to happen. Run toward it, learn to work with it. Because if you keep running away from it, it will catch up with you and trip you. And then you're at its mercy.
Well, and I find in just kind of spending a lot of time thinking about the stress that this period in time is creating for people. Because I work with clients who deal with chronic stress in their daily lives and trying to mitigate those factors so that it doesn't affect their physical health. And it is beyond anything in the first couple years of doing this that I've ever experienced is kind of this collective stress, this collective, just, I don't know. There's so much change coming at me all at once. I really just don't know what direction to look and to go. And this is on a very collective level. It is something. And I think when we talk about intuition and intuitiveness, that is in the essence what we are talking about. How can people use their own intuition, intuitiveness to make these changes and accept change into their lives?
The first thing they need to do is learn to trust themselves. You know, this goes back to the book, Clean Out Your Life Closet. I would give $100 cold cash to anyone that said, I have never bought a self-help book in my entire life, because they ain't one out there. I mean, my first one was at age 14, which told me how fat girls, no matter how you dress or your makeup, no one will ever like you. So this is how you have to buy it.
That is a terrible book.
But, you know, it was 1966. It was normal. So what I tell people is, look, we all have gone into Barnes and Noble and we've seen the cool cover and the sexy title. We've read it a couple of pages and maybe it works for us. And we get it home. And then when we read it, it's, what do you mean I can't eat food with leptin and I have to get up to do yoga for every morning? I live in Milwaukee. I have a couple of preschoolers and I have to go to work. Ain't happening. Yeah. So what I did is, this book specifically says you're going to write this from your own experience, just like I do with the Sentence and Passion stuff. And each chapter is things like, well, here's some of the stupid things I did. Here's a client story. And here's some things you might want to think about that might help. But at the end of each chapter, I have what I call the adventure pages. Okay. One of my favorite chapters is How Perfect Destroys Good, which tells the story of my family. But at the end of the chapter, the questions, you can't go look in my book to see what you need. Where do you beat yourself up most often and why? Reimagine one of those times with the idea that good can triumph over perfect. What does it look like now? How would your life change if you stopped thinking perfection was the only correct response to a project or a situation? This can only be answered right by the person reading the book. And so the book teaches you, you've got your own answers. You can trust yourself. It's in there. All you have to do is say, okay, this is me. There was a place called the Option Institute in Massachusetts. It still does Zoom classes now, but it's no longer what it was for 40 years. But I went there and they taught me to ask 3 questions. What am I X about? X is, you know, whatever emotion. Why am I X about that? And the question we never ask ourselves, what do I think would happen if I stopped being X about that? Now, here's an example of kids. Your kid comes home from school and goes, I don't like my teacher. Very often it's, well, you should, and that's not reasonable. You're ignoring what the kid said. How can you change that? First, what are you upset about? My teacher gave us double homework. Unawake, mom. Well, that's all right. She's your teacher. And why did you deserve to get, accusatory? Smart. Why are you upset that she gave you double homework? Again, just acknowledging the feeling and asking the question. And the kid goes, because I'm afraid I won't be able to go out and play today before it gets dark. Well, let's hurry up and get it done. Or, well, that'll just be tough. Or. The magic third question, you look at Josh and you say, what do you think would happen if you stopped being upset about the double homework? I don't know. If you had to guess. Maybe I'd just get it done and I could go out and play. Okay, is that a good idea to you? Yeah. And the kid goes off. What you have taught your kid to do is critical thinking, to understand how to look at his own emotion and find the good way out. Those 3 questions are magic.
And we're kind of stunted in that, given, you know, I am of the opinion, just based on, I've got 3 kids, based on my own experiences myself, and then also with having 3 children, is that we're not we aren't really doing that
It's a rare
at
parent
all.
that gets it. That's why I talk about it and I teach it.
Right. Sure. And I mean, I think we can get into these habits of just like tamping it down. I don't really want to hear you fussing and I don't really want to work through your emotions. I have one child who's very much willing and able to work through his emotions, and we're able to do that together. I have one very much who does not. And then I have a little one who's still, he's 4 and he's got all kinds of emotions, but
okay, he's a schnutz.
Yeah.
Schnutz is the German word for little nose. Everybody under 5 is a schnutz. I get it.
Exactly. And he is part German. So there's that.
Oh, well, there you go.
But it is very interesting that the dynamics and personalities of one very willing to work through his emotions and one very much willing not to bury it, just feel them all by herself. I don't want to do it. And more eruptive when they get to be too much.
She'll take a little more work, but she can come around to this too.
Sure. So there's also that aspect of making sure that we understand personality difference in how we are working with them. Correct. I mean, you probably work with a bunch of different personalities, ones that come to you very willing to accept and hear what you have to say and to work on working through those emotions. And then ones that are very, that's not going to work for me.
And that's fine. We're like doctors.
Yeah.
We have different bedside personalities.
Yeah.
There are some people who need the very, very gentle, what I call the blurpy purple with angel stuff. Let's hear what your angels have to say for you. Yeah. And that's great for them. Me, I'm from New York. I'm practical, I'm fast, but boy, am I funny.
Well, so it's funny when
people who love that, man, they just gravitate toward it.
When I was going through your website, I was reading some of your testimonials, and the one theme was that everybody was like straight to the point. Like, no, I'm not going to give you what you want to hear. I'm going to give you what you need to hear, which I appreciate. I am that type of personality that I appreciate that kind of bluntness, because I'm quite incapable of being that blunt with people, but I appreciate it for myself, if that makes sense.
Like I said, New York. But that all follows to the idea. I am one of the weird psychics. If I can get you to spend less money, I'm happy.
Yeah.
If people think they need an hour with me first time, I say, no, do just a half an hour. You have no idea how fast I go.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons I record everything.
So and that people can go back and listen.
Because they'll never remember everything. And if they're taking notes, they're not listening. And frankly, any psychic who says, no, you're not allowed to record me, what are they afraid of?
Yeah, sure. And I imagine that process of taking what you have to say and applying it to your life takes steps. And you may want to go through it at different steps in your life, because that information is going to work differently in different stages, I would imagine.
Yes. But, I do remind people, even the best of us are only 85% accurate. Mm-hmm. The only one 100% accurate is God, and he doesn't have a booth at the psychic fair this year.
Yeah.
So
explain that. Explain how that works.
God, I cannot explain how God works.
So explain how, you said a good one is about 85% accurate. Your limitations. Explain for a skeptic
whom I love,
what you mean.
I love skeptics. I do the best I can, but I am human. Mm-hmm. Okay. I see what I see, but remember, free will make different choices. When people say, well, how can there be free will? And you say, I have a pre-birth plan. It's like college. I went to Brown University. I was a theater major. Okay. That's what this body says, fine, this is my life lesson.
Yeah.
You go and you may be a theater major, but you could take gut courses or double major plus lab. This is the life where things are easy and you don't run into any problems. This is where you're kind of arguing with spirit and saying, I don't want to learn this time. And spirit keeps saying, fine, detour. But either way, you're going to graduate having learned the lessons you needed.
Sure.
That's why free will is valuable and important and doesn't change the message. So run me back to where we were, because I went off into the weeds on that one. About how people
like
the 85%.
Yeah. So skeptical, like if I come, how do you explain what you do and the fact that you're, you could be 85% right, but there's going to be something wrong. How do you have a skeptic accept that?
I asked them, have you ever been 100% right in your life? You've never made a mistake. The boss has never come to you and said, this isn't what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay. I'm doing my best for you and my ego is on the shelf. And sometimes things may not make sense to you, but please just take the recording, go back to it later. I may say, rutabaga on a plaid fire engine. I'm getting this vision. And you may think this woman is nuts. But then you start dating a woman and you see in her bedroom her toy from her childhood, which is a rutabaga with a plaid fire engine.
Yeah.
Now, the wonderful story I love about this kind of thing, there's a woman I read in Kitchener, Ontario, and I saw a couple of possible challenges. And I said, these are possibilities. And she gets up and she looks at me, she says, you suck, and she walks away. Okay. Who's the first person back in my chair the next time I'm up there but her? She said, last time I said you sucked. I said, yes, I remember. Because you told me that you saw me taking in a boarder and then I was probably going to want to sell my house. And I thought that was all bull. But my daughter got pregnant and moved home. And now I'm going to sell my house because I want to help raise my grandson. And I still don't like you, but I want to know what else you see. Don't shoot the messenger.
Interesting.
So that's the kind of thing. You have to go back and listen.
Okay, because I'm so fascinated in these stories, because I don't know where I stand. I don't know where I stand on like how I feel about all this. I love to hear like personal experiences.
Good. We are not right for everybody. We're a luxury. We're not a necessity.
Sure.
And I know that. So if you could go through your life never talking to a psychic, cool. Maybe for you, it's an Episcopalian ministry, Canon Bruce Shortell down in Atlanta. Maybe for you, it is Native American, go out, fast, pray, a great spirit, give me my totem animal kind of thing, vision quest.
Yeah.
We all try to find our way to God in whatever road we can. I don't know of any psychic who does not believe in God, not one.
Wow.
We all know that in some way, or at least the ones that aren't what I call shysters, we're working
which there are those in every profession.
Yeah, shyster is a Yiddish word for con man.
Yeah.
One of the reasons, there's another book I wrote called The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, How to Find the Real Wizards and Avoid the Flying Monkeys.
Yeah.
And I wrote that because of something that I did see on a Canadian trip. Massive psychic fair, 250 booths. And when you're that huge, you're going to have some good people and some fakes.
Yeah.
And there was a fake gypsy across the way. And we saw a woman walking down the aisles, doing the walk, looking at all of us. And this woman comes out from behind her curtain and grabs this woman. And in psychic show parlance, that's called hooking. And it's as bad as the other kind of hooking. And she goes, oh, you no need to pay $30, $40, $50. I reach up on for 10. Come, drags the woman behind her curtain. 15 minutes later, a bunch of us see the person she dragged in leaving and crying hysterically. And a bunch of us ran over. Are you okay? What happened?
Yeah.
Gypsy said, oh, you have a family curse. How many in your family? 4? You have dog? $50 every family member, 25 for a dog. He's small, we fix. And told the woman if she didn't burn 400 specially blessed candles at the Roman Catholic Church, I bless real good, only $1 candle. Her entire family was going to die in a car accident in 2 weeks, and she bought it. That's what gives us a bad name. Not people like me. Not people like me who want to give you your own abilities, your own strength, your own encouragement, your own emotional and mental power back.
So you are basically a guide for somebody to help themselves.
Yes. I mean, I'm a non-denominational minister.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you got the Rev in front of your name, you damn well, excuse my language, know who you're working for.
Right. Right.
And you feel it every time you stray from what you know is the right way to do things. You get that in the heart.
Yeah. which most of
So,
us have, I think, that tug of, yeah, this doesn't feel right, which again,
mhm,
going back to intuition, that's kind of how I operate in my
mhm,
own life, is working with my own feelings about things. But I also like a
mhm.
lot of information. I take in a lot of information and then try to go based on, okay, this is the information I have. This is how I feel about it, and kind of working that way.
That's
So
brilliant.
give me some success stories, some that stick out to you after, I mean, you've been doing this for a very long time. What are some
Mhm.
of the stories that of clients who have really been able to transform their lives working with you, helping them help themselves?
One of my very favorites, all my good stories are Canada. I had a client, her name is Jess, and this is what, 10, 12 years ago. She was toiling at an everyday job. And I looked at her and I said, "You do some writing, don't you?" She goes, "Well, yeah." I said, "The words are crying to get out of you.
Mm-hmm.
You have got to write. You have got to believe that your words are wanted out in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Please stop telling yourself you're just somebody else who wants to publish a book. You are so much more than that." She is now a very well-known Canadian writer for young adult fiction, something
Wow.
like 11 books out.
Yeah.
Okay. And she has said, without my kick, she might never have gotten there.
Do you find that our roadblocks are the fact that all of us think that we're just completely ordinary and can be nothing more than that?
Or we think the opposite. We are so good that we don't need anybody's advice about anything, and the world will just bring it to us. Psh,
Yeah.
extremes do not work. It's like
Yeah.
in Buddhism, the middle road, guys.
Yeah.
You do have things inside you that God planted in when you got down here and saying, "I want you to work on this and this and this and this and this."
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And nobody has nothing good.
Right.
That's a double negative, but you know what I mean.
You are
Um,
from New York. I'll accept it.
Thank you. Um, we all have things that can make the world better, but we have to make ourselves
Yeah.
better first. There's a wonderful saying: "You cannot drink from an empty cup."
Mm-hmm.
This is what I remind the women who come to me and say, "Oh, well, I don't have time for myself because this person, this." And there are two things. Number one, I hand them one of my very favorite little props that they take home. It's called "No is a Fabulous Idea." And I tell them, "Take this, put it on your fridge." On the back is the tale of Sid, Moses' second cousin, which explains to them why they need to sing that.
Yeah.
But the other thing I do is, all right, let's use an example. You have a neighbor who just had twins, and she's exhausted, and her husband, works 80 hours a week. So she's at home with the twins all by herself. And then that her favorite thing is a homemade chicken pot pie, and you make her one of those 13x9 casserole dishes, and you send it over, and you see the relief on her face, and you
Mm-hmm.
feel the gratitude. Doesn't that feel wonderful? She goes, "Oh yeah." I say, "Why are you denying that to other people?"
Yeah.
When they do something for you because they want to, because they know it's something that you would find, there'd be enjoyment, it's a gift to you, why do you say, "Oh no, you don't have to," or "You didn't need to"? Why do you take away their joy?
Yeah.
When people realize a gracious, warm acceptance is as valuable as a gracious, loving giving, the world changes.
So what you're saying is that we all have something that we were put here to give back to others.
You
It's just a
can't
matter
leave,
of
right.
how we find it.
You can't leave Earth successfully without at least teaching one more person what you've learned.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you have to do it professionally. If you've had a tough life, but you have a niece that you tell these stories to, and she internalizes them and she learns from them, you've done your job.
Yeah. So it can be something as simple as being that giver within your own unit, your own family unit, your own circle,
Yes.
your own friendship unit, whatever it is. Or it could be something as grand as writing 11 novels and sharing it with the world.
Yes.
And I think that's probably where people get very confused, is that our purpose has to be something big and grandiose.
That's why when you do your Sentence of Passion consult with me, if what you love most is home and family, why would I say, so you have to go out in the world?
Yeah.
Maybe what you do is you raise your kids, or you're that other mother for the kid down the street, your kid's best friend.
Yeah.
And because you have imparted to them kindness, truth, authenticity, generosity, they're the generation that goes out and does that for the world. That's the old butterfly flutters its wings one side, tornado on the other side philosophy.
So your purpose could be loving and teaching this generation. So your children that go out and do something very grand after you're gone, or even when you're still here, but how you treated them while they were here gave them the tools that they need to go off and do these big grand things.
Yes.
So accepting that your role may be not in the spotlight, not at the center of these big grand things, but as a facilitator of them.
Exactly. You know, especially now, there's a lot of okay boomer jokes and a lot of resentment from my generation.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Actually, I did a podcast on age and aging and kind of this phase that we've gotten into of not really respecting our elders anymore when we used to revere them so much. So
you just used the magic word. A lot of boomers don't want to be elders. They don't like the word. So they're always trying to stay young. They're always trying to do what they used to do. They always think, well, what I know is the right way and y'all are, get off my lawn. No, I call myself an elder. Now, what's the difference? An elder knows that their time on the stage is leaving and they are moving off the center of the stage. And they encourage the next generation to step up to where they used to be.
Right.
And while an elder will always share knowledge with someone who asks respectfully, think of, First Nations, Native American elders.
Yeah.
You come in and you ask them something rudely, they're just going to stare at you. But if we see someone that we believe could internalize what we know, what we can pass on to them, and take it truly to the next generation, as an elder, they become an apprentice. With me, there's a 14-year-old girl around here. Her name is Ula. I'm very close with her family. Ula's level of compassion, level of being able to see underneath, there's something that I call underhearing, and it's not magic, it's empathic. Betsy and Melissa, they're going out for coffee, and Betsy is talking about the date she had last night and blah, blah, blah. But Melissa knows, she can feel that this is all bravado. Melissa would look at her friend and say, he stood you up, didn't he? Yeah. How did you know? And boom, her bubbles burst, but then they get to the real thing that's happening. Yeah. Ula's underhearing is amazing. And I think by the time she's 21, she will surpass me in how good she is as a teacher and a counselor. So the elder and apprentice relationship is lifelong. It's not she signed up for a course, but this is someone that I am willing to tell all the stuff I know, even teach from the painful places in my life when she is age appropriate, so that she can take the good parts of my life and pass them on through her own lens to the next generation when I'm dead. That's the difference between an elder and a boomer.
So it's wisdom.
It is
what it is. And
it's a timeless wisdom
that we've kind of lost this ability to revere those that carry this wisdom. Has that, in your view, put us in a bit of a spiritual crisis currently?
Sure. And in a sense, it's the boomers' fault. We're the ones who invented the phrase, never trust anybody over 30.
Oops.
So our generation, right. So if we said that when we were 23, it's hard for us to admit we're way past our sell-by date.
Right.
We have been surrounded by our own people. We're kind of like the elephant that got swallowed by the boa constrictor.
Yeah.
We're that lump that keeps moving.
Yeah.
And now, as our group dies off, America is becoming more multicultural, much younger.
Yeah.
We thought we were just so cool. And now We look at trans, we look at gender fluid, we look at binary, and most people's heads can't get around it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like our parents couldn't get around the idea of having sex before marriage did not damn you. These are new ways in the world. And who knows, all of this new understanding of what my body container is may be what is needed 20, 30 years from now when the world has changed so deeply. An elder understands that. A boomer is afraid of that.
That's really interesting. I don't think I've ever really thought of, differentiating or having your generation actually see themselves differently like that. It's not something I've spent a whole lot of.
See me like that, but
Sure.
it's if you will, act 3. It is the culmination of my sentence of passion.
Yeah.
So that I live it right until the day I die.
Yeah. And I think that's what we're all looking for too, is to be able to find that and then see it through. Are we ever finished here?
Well, when you're dead, there's not a lot you can continue to do, at least not in this container. We can be, the soul can be. A lot of people don't necessarily, the soul doesn't want to come back down. One that I was able to channel for somebody was their grandfather, who was military, highly honored, died in 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
He spent time, he was not interested in coming back down into a human existence, but his soul is the one who was assigned to shepherd those who died from IUDs and fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. When these young soldiers get blown to bits, that is traumatic for the soul, even if it's supposed to happen. Yeah. He was one of the guides that met them coming over the bridge.
Yeah. Wow, that's so fascinating. So,
this is just one class, and there's a whole university out there.
How do you emotionally, like going back to you personally, how does a psychic medium, channel, intuitive handle that much energy? Like, so you and I sitting here right now, if I weren't to ask you, what are you hearing from me? Is it something you can just completely block out? How does that not drain your, how does that not just drain your energy?
Number one, I'm just the tube.
Yeah.
I'm the hammer does not get exhausted whacking its head against the nail on the deck. Who gets exhausted? The person hammering the nail. Sure. So that's part of it. I admit, when I did 4-day shows in Kitchener, Ontario, in 4 days, I'd read 70 people and do 2 lectures. Yes, you would put me in a body bag and roll me back to the B&B every night. I was exhausted, but I had a reader's high while I was doing it.
Yeah, sure.
So there's that. When you realize it's what you're meant to do, you're doing it in service. If you are a janitor in a building and you're just cleaning, that's one thing. If you are a devout Catholic who is helping clean up the rectory and do repair work, well, what you feel for the person who lives there raises that job up from drudgery to a gift.
Yeah.
What I get to do is a gift, not only to my clients, but to me.
Yeah.
When I'm wrestling with something in my own life, and good Lord, I certainly do that still, I guarantee you, within 3 days, 4 of my clients are going to come to me with the same problem. And while I'm completely clear, it's them, it's not me, and I'm just giving them what information I have, my own guides are going, dummy, you're listening. So
this message is multi-purpose.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Absolutely. And I think that's what we are all looking for. And I see it a lot. This is kind of, people feeling very stuck in their professions is kind of this big theme of I'm miserable. I go and I do this job that I absolutely hate, but it pays the bills and I can't leave. So what do I do? Am I just stuck, or how do I find passion in other areas of my life and not really have this be part of, what's bringing me down? Is that kind of this theme that you see as well? Like people are just absolutely miserable in their careers.
And they can be miserable and they can also be lost.
Yeah.
But there is a wonderful book that just came out, and interestingly enough, it is by Ula's mother, my friend Shannon. And it's called Redefining Rich: Achieving True Wealth with Small Business, Side Hustle, and Smart Living. Shannon is a writer, third generation farmer. She runs a cafe, and she has one of the most, and homeschooled her kids. And she has one of the most fulfilling lives of anybody I ever knew. And she has time for walks in the woods.
Yeah.
And rest. And if I had had that book when I was in my 30s, my life might have changed faster. But she shows how in this, what she calls the extractive economy, we're so enslaved to our work that we can never find what we truly want. So even if you're in the middle of that now, get the book, see how she talks, and see if you can start moving your life over into more what you want instead of what you think you're forced to do to survive.
Right. Because I feel like that really, the way that we are living leads to this massive amount of resentment. It's just this resentment that I have to do this so that I can live financially the way that I want to live. When in reality, it's quite the opposite. You become very enslaved by your job to where you're not you're making the money you want to make, but how are you enjoying your life? I mean, are you using those finances to do the things that you really love and want to do? And do you have the time to do them? And I think that this is the conundrum. Sure. And I think this is the conundrum that so many people get really stuck in, is that this is a passionless, crappy job that I have to go to every single day so that I can get X amount of money to support what? To support what?
I know. I mean, part of my problem when I was going job to job to job to job is I'm very organized and I'm very personable and I present well. And I'm from New York. So a lot of the times I'd start working for a lawyer and they would always give me the job of the meanest SOB in the Valley, that this guy could not keep secretaries. And I was the one that could work with him. But that made all the other secretaries resent me because my energy came across more like a paralegal or an equal to him. And there was a place I worked in Atlanta, I will not name the law firm, where it was time for reviews. And this was a 400-person law firm, massive. And I knew that the reviews were being done between June and August. And September, I still hadn't been reviewed. So I went to the head of the secretaries, whoever the manager was. And I said, how come I haven't been reviewed? You said, because we don't like you. We think that you're uppity and we think you don't really know your place. So you can stay as long as you want, but you will never be reviewed again and you will never get a raise. I was gone within a month.
Sure.
But that's one of the things that taught me, if I'm going to be true and authentic to who I am, I cannot pin my money or my acceptance or my value on how other people see me. Which is why at that point I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur by the time I was 50. And I did it by the time I was 46, 47. Because nobody can fire me. Nobody could refuse to give me a raise. And I could work until I'm 2 weeks dead if I want to.
Sure.
So for me, I saw that early.
Wow. And I think that that's kind of the nudge that so many people need or want to hear, or even if it's just coming from somebody like you, who is a messenger. To give you permission to feel that way, or permission to start making those little shifts towards the life that you want or that you've been looking for all along. Because I think that's where we get stuck is that we know we're looking for something else, because obviously there's this discontent. We feel discontent, kind of like we're being pulled this way, but we're stuck this way.
It's a disconnect as well. You're not connected with your own heart.
Sure. And that makes you feel discontentment and kind of just yucky and resentful and whatnot. So having that little nudge to push you in baby steps towards what you really are meant to be moving towards, I think can bring a lot of relief, both emotionally, and when you're emotionally healthy, you're physically healthier. And, that's kind of the realm that I operate in. Because we have this explosion of like chronic disease too. And how much is that, I always question how much is that tied your lacking of purpose to, maybe your physical ailments too.
Absolutely. What I tell somebody is, once you find something, don't think that you have to overturn your complete life, graft it on. So what's grafting?
Do people see this as like dropping a grenade on their life and like walking away? I mean, is that why it makes it so scary to make these changes?
And I try to tell people, no.
Yeah.
When you've got a golden delicious tree, but you want to try grafting on a macoon branch, it takes time. The entire tree doesn't change.
Yeah.
And so maybe what you really want to do is open your own vintage clothing store. Let's go back to that.
Yeah.
First thing, go find a little time to do some small business courses at your Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
Try doing, a resale online. Do little things to test it out. You do not throw a 4-year-old who just learned how to swim in the deep end.
Right.
You keep them in the kiddie pool till they're ready. You can change your life in increments. As long as there is always a move forward, you're in the right direction.
And how do people deal with this kind of information at a certain age? Because I feel like we have this tendency to believe that only young people can make these big life changes, not those of us who are pushing 40 or those of us in our 40s or even later.
I remind people of people who have made the change. Mary Kay Ash, who's in her 40s. Grandma Moses started painting when she was in her 70s. And where does it say that when you're this old, you're worthless, that you're dried up? That's the old boomer thinking.
Right.
If I didn't do it by the time I'm 30. The other thing we're up against is there are more and more and more young entrepreneurs, bloggers, influencers, and we see this 20-year-old who's worth $6 million, and we just go, oh, well. If you're measuring by how popular you are and how much money you make, that's the old extractive economy. Look at the value. And I think
that's real. The way that we're operating today, that's really hard to ignore. And, that's kind of the struggle that I run into with some of my clients is having them be able to shut off this comparing. Social media can be a really useful tool, but it can also be just a motivation crusher, because there's all this comparing. Well, I can't do it that way, or I tried to do it the way this person did it and that didn't work. And I can't be like them. And it's not working for me. And, or their life looks so easy and mine, I just can't get it together. There's this kind of icky cesspool of comparison that we can't seem to get over.
I know. Well, I have a very New York saying, screw it and do it. Look, there are millions of self-help books out there. There's a whole bunch of psychic books out there. What did I have to say that was so different?
Yeah.
When I finally decided I'm different, there are certain things I've gone through that others may not have. I just wrote it. And the other thing is, I am funny. So my books are not, this is what you need to do. It's, look, I was really dumb here.
Yeah.
And let's look at the other things. And I don't mind telling funny stories. In Psychic Yellow Brick Road, there's a chapter of when not to get a reading. And it's what we intuitives go through. You have the person who wants the answer they want,
not the answer that you've got.
Right. And so it's like this. Does Bruce love me? No. Is he gonna love me? Not the way you want. Well, if I do such and such, will he love me? No, he won't. Well, how about, is he going to call soon? No. Is he not going to call soon? He's going to call later. And they beat on you until you say, yes, yes, he loves you and he wants 7 babies with you, but he just doesn't know yet. Oh, good. I thought so. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Drives us nuts. So, what I love is that book is written for people who want to use an intuitive counselor, but don't want to learn how to do the wiki woo themselves.
Yeah.
So the subtitle is Intuitive Guidance is Art, Don't Settle for a Forgery.
Yeah.
But what pleases me is a lot of other intuitives have read that book and laughing said, I wish I had this when I was starting. It would have made life so much easier.
Sure.
So,
and I'm sure being able to find humor in it too it makes it a little.
Yeah. Humor makes anything palatable. It really does.
Absolutely.
When they wheeled me into the operating room for my double mastectomy, I had 2 surgeons. I had the oncology surgeon who did have the personality of a turnip, and my plastic surgeon, whom in our family we named Madame Artiste and Doc Miracle because she was and she made him. And remember, they give you the pre-op drugs, fentanyl and Versed. So I was at the left corner of Space Cadet and Outer Limits. And I looked at the turnip guy and I said, you have 3 hours for the demolition work. And I looked at my plastic surgeon and said, and you got 3 hours for the front end alignment. I want to be out in 6. Boom. Now, when that really happened, and when I tell that story, women who are terrified about their upcoming surgery, they begin to laugh. They see it as not all doom and gloom and destruction, that your attitude equals altitude. I got out of Mass General in 3 days and shopped for a bathing suit in 5. Part of it was the brilliant medical help I got, but part of it was the attitude.
Sure. And I think that we forget that we have that power too. And being able to choose humor in such a really heavy time is also probably a really good tool to have in your toolbox, because we can have this tendency of just pulling ourselves down and getting stuck in that, getting really stuck at kind of this lower frequency of life that's harder to dig yourself out of. That's a really great reminder. So
humor, it works. It really does. And when you're laughing at something, it doesn't mean you disrespect it.
Sure.
It means you are into the human foxhole where we all are.
Oh yeah. We're all in the foxhole right now. That's for sure.
Yes.
Well, Corbie, this has been a very enlightening conversation, and I greatly appreciate it. Like I said, I love having guests on who can speak to things that I don't necessarily understand, but I like to. I really like to dive into things that that I personally question and like to get my mind around. Intuitiveness has always been something that's been important to me, but I don't think I've ever really necessarily understood it. So I myself feel that I use my intuition a lot. I have a child who uses his intuition a lot. So, it's helped us kind of work through a lot of different things, but
we've all got it.
Yeah. I appreciate the clarity. So how can somebody who's interested in working with you, how can they find you or your books?
Oh, well, they can't avoid me. I'm all over the place. You go to CorbieMitleid.com. That's my website. There are like 150 articles. There are pages that tell you about my books, and you can order the books all from Amazon.
Gotcha.
You can find me on Facebook at Fire Through Spirit, and it's where I do free reading hours once a month. You can find me on Pinterest, YouTube, and Instagram under Corbie Mitleid.
Great. And I will put all of those in the show notes for people who are interested in your services. And hey, maybe I'll call because I'm sold. I'm fascinated and I'm sold. And I think that what you can do can be very helpful for people who, especially right now, are feeling very stuck. So I am grateful
to work with you. As we say in New York, we'll talk, we'll have coffee.
Say it again. I love it.
We'll talk, we'll have coffee.
I'm going to practice that. All right, Corbie, thank you so much.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for asking.